Well, listen, a lot better for one. I think we have the chance to be better on both ends. I don't know that when you ask that question, I think offensively, you certainly lose some scoring punch, but we were not as efficient as we needed to be in a Big Ten play. So I think our rebounding, all those things are in our defense. Those are questions that have to be answered, John. But from what I've seen, in the short term here, I'm pretty optimistic about what this group can be with the returning guys, and then I think some of the addition of guys we had. And again, we've got to answer those questions out in front of us.
But I mean, somebody done
Bruce is one of those guys you want in that position, John. You want a guy who's going to bring it every day, who's going to compete every day, who's going to embody the everyday approach that you want in your group, and that's Bruce. And he does that at a really high level. He competes, he compares. He's a kid who competes, and he really values winning at a high level. And I think that was the separator, I think, for him, as you saw how much he valued winning. He always has. And that's why I'm excited that he's going to lead the way here.
I remember that.
Well, as you know, Adam, a lot of people ask me, hey, you've never experienced a year like that last year. Well, Bruce had never experienced a year like that. So I think for him, he was the face of our team in a lot of ways, particularly towards the end of the year. And I think there was a point at which he kind of just said, hey, listen, I've got to find a way just to enjoy this, even in the struggles. And I think once he kind of just did that, and almost like, in a way, just said, hey, I'm just going to cut loose and have fun and play with freedom, is when, and I think that's a thing that young players learn. He's not going to play perfect, and I think at times maybe he was trying to do everything perfectly. I think he cut loose and played, really gained some confidence in the last 10 games. But what I'm hoping, Adam, is that the memory of the struggles last year, if we don't use that, that's on us. And to have guys that went through it and experienced that firsthand is valuable.
What does fall
You're right. I think I don't know if that's replicable, but I definitely think a jump is attainable for him, and a jump in scoring, a jump in efficiency. I think his assists have to go up a little bit. I think defensively he's got to continue to grow in that area. But he'll definitely score the ball at a higher clip than what he did last year, because he's going to have more opportunities than what he had last year. Yeah.
I know last year you weren't sure how much you
Yeah.
How much more?
Well, there's no question we were searching for it, and I think Bruce stepped into a role that is a lot for a freshman, and he did a good job with it. And I think he'll assume a greater level of leadership for sure. We'll vote on captains here in a couple weeks, but he'll certainly get a large percentage of the votes from the players. He's taken a big-time leadership role this summer, and done a really good job of it, the way he works and the way he conducts himself, and how much he cares about winning. So we'll see who else, kind of gets those votes along with him. Yeah, good. I think I'd like for us to maybe be a little bit healthier than what we've been. Tayson is out for probably looks like 4 to 6 weeks with a minor knee procedure, and then Austin has been out with some back spasms. So both those guys have been out for a little bit. Austin should be returning soon. But I think it's been a really good summer, a really good preseason, and the work it's been a lot, but it's been I think our guys have we've been able to see some things that I think it's been good to see, particularly with our 3 transfers. Yeah, I think anytime you have an injury, it's going to set you back, and especially when you're a freshman. It's not their fault. It's out of their control. And I know they're both anxious to get back, really, really anxious to get back, and I know they're hungry to do that. As I said, it looks like Austin's return will be sooner than Tayson, but we expect them both to be back here this season, and Austin, again, should be practicing relatively soon here. So, yeah, I think anytime you have an inconsistent summer and an inconsistent preseason, it's going to delay your development. I believe it's maybe a week ago, I think. So
Tony probably has those in his collection. Or maybe they just sent him
Instead of like buying 10 shares of Apple.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they just sent him
That could be.
Yeah, I think, and we might be talking about this when we get closer to Steve, but I've got to put some thought into it with the staff as to what exactly we want the scrimmage, the exhibition to look like. It's not going to look exactly like we would coach a regular game. I think that we'll potentially try to play maybe more guys, different lineups, different rotations, different than what we would. We'll treat it more like a practice.
Okay, I'll go up there and be there.
A game.
Okay, perfect.
I know there's going to be interest in it because it's an in-state program. And certainly, I think it's already sold out. But yeah, it's already sold out. But I think we're doing it for the right reasons. I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad to partner with Anthony and Dayton. But it'll be coached differently than a real game. And then a week after that, we have a scrimmage we're doing with an ACC program.
Freshman, you covered 2 of them, kind of out of practice, but Boyle and Scotty Middleton, where are they at this tournament?
Yes, Scotty's done a really good job in terms of his fitness level is good, his conditioning is really good, and he's got the ability, I think, to impact on both ends. Devin's had some really good moments here late. He continues to get in better conditioning and better shape. I expect both those guys to be able to help us, but Scotty certainly got the chance to help us in the immediate as much as any of the freshmen.
Also, great. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks for saying that.
Of course, we had to say hello.
Good. Yeah, good. I think the biggest thing with Scotty's shooting right now is leg strength. You'll see him. He's just really skinny. He's skinny, so he just has to get stronger. His body has to get fully developed. You see these guys here at Big Ten these days. It's just these frames of these guys, and that's just it's a different level. So I think for him, that's the biggest thing for strength right now. But he's definitely going to help us.
how would you maybe specifically challenge those three in the offseason to do that and make sure that what they could do last year in terms of
Yeah, I think, Adam, we broke down their games and specifically told them what they needed to improve on and the areas they needed to grow and get better, and, you know, in specific ways with those guys. For the most part, they've had a pretty healthy offseason, with the exception of a couple of things. So I think for them, it's just, you know, it's not like when we start the season, you know, we're going to see this immediate jump. That might be the case, but I think what you'll see with them is a continual growth throughout their sophomore year, particularly with a guy like Roddy, who is really now being thrust into a very regular minutes rotation, and as well as Felix. But I think both those guys will start to see improvement throughout the year. Yeah, Dale's been he's been really impressive in the preseason. He's been really impressive. So do I think we'll see those three guys together? I do. I definitely think we'll see a three-guard lineup at times. Dale's speed and quickness and shooting have been, and he can defend, have been a really good thing. So, I feel really good about our three transfers. I think he, Evan Mayfield, as well as Jameson, are all going to be factors in our rotation. But I definitely think we'll see that lineup together.
How important was the Minnesota? A lot of people just talking the transfer. Some experienced guys that have played Big Ten basketball.
Yeah.
Big a role to play.
He's going to play a big role because we lost wing scoring, and we needed that. And I think he knew that when we recruited him, that we really needed with the loss of our wing scorers, Bryce to the NBA, Justice to graduation. I think it was just we needed a wing scorer, so I think he felt how much we needed him, and he's done a good job. I think he's got to grow in his ability to rebound and defend, but he was a big pickup for us.
What a lot of people
You know, I think when you look at it, last 10 years, Big Ten's had the second most Final Four teams in the last 10 years. So I think it's a little bit overstated when you're talking about, because I hear that question a lot, you know, the drought. The drought of the national championship is a real thing. But I think this league just has to keep knocking on the door. I don't know that you can say, hey, the league's so physical throughout the year that somehow that impacts March. You know, I don't know. I've thought about it a lot. I think guard play typically wins in March, and I think our league has been driven maybe a little bit with bigger guys. So I think having teams right now that have really good guard play, I know we went to the Sweet 16 in Butler, we had a number of guards, and I think that perhaps could be a reason. But, I think we just have to keep knocking on the door.
The only reason we can make what's the take to put a game plan together?
He's the most unique player in college basketball and most dominant player in college basketball. I think the thing that makes him so impactful is he changes how you play, and Matt's talked about that. And any player that changes how you scheme and how you play takes you out of what you're most comfortable with, it takes you out of what you're most familiar with and your habits, and it makes you do odd things. And I think it speaks to his dominance. And if you don't do that, you're afraid that he's going to go from 35 to 18. So it's kind of a pick your poison.
The way that Holtmann is playing, focusing on that.
One place called Inbound Brilliance.
Yeah, they've got good players around them. They've got really good players around them. They've got guys that are really good college players. I mean, they've got a talented roster, make no mistake. Not just Edie, they've got a talented roster. They've got a 5-star that coming off the bench. So, yeah, I think they've got Smith is a terrific point guard. So there's a reason they were as good as they were last year in terms of winning the regular season in the Big Ten tournament. I'm sure they'll have a great year. Yeah, I expect all four to make an impact. I think at different levels and to different degrees, and I don't know that we'll need to be as reliant on them this year as we were last year. I think Scotty Middleton and Devin Royal have a chance to help on the roster. The other guys just need to get help.
Hey, John, how are you? Congratulations. Doing okay? She hasn't picked yet. Yeah, give it 6. We'll see what happens.
What's the mentality like?
Well, that's a question we have to answer for sure, because that has been the case the last 3 years. Adam, who follows us every day, knows that. For 3 years now, we've had a dip in our defensive efficiency. Now, one of those years we were the second or third best offensive team in the country, so we were able to kind of manage. We still had a good year, and then 2 years ago we were in the 80s, I believe, defensively, but we had another top 10 offense. So we really, a couple of years ago, started to transition to hopefully a more balanced roster with a little more size and more defensive-minded guys. This year, hopefully, we'll see the benefits of that. It was a conscious decision just because we felt like we were a little bit out of balance, even though we had some really good offensive teams and some really good offensive players. But we've got to answer that question. We have made some adjustments in our staff and our staff responsibilities. But we'll, we did that in the off season, and we'll see how those changes manifest.
During the shadows last week, what were the encouraging signs, even in the offseason, stepped up to show the fight at the end of the year, to see Roddy's confidence growing, playing at all Big Ten. So what did you see that kept the lead, not only at the end of last year, but
it's a good question. It's a really good question. I think the belief in who those kids showed themselves to be, our freshmen, gave me confidence in what we could be towards the end of the year. And Bruce, Roddy, and Felix are great kids. They're great kids first and foremost. And again, as we talked about, I hadn't experienced a year like that. Those guys hadn't experienced a year like that. But they battled through it together. And I think we knew they were really good kids, but when you go through that, you really realize that. So beyond the fact that they're good players, they're talented kids, they're great kids, it made me feel like, hey, if we could just find some positive moments and build on that, we would finish well. We finished 5-2. As a coach, you're always saying, hey, I wish I could have got it turned earlier than that. But what gave me confidence that we could move it was the quality of those kids.
I've always felt that you don't need you've been able to find the right balance.
Yeah.
I talk about NIL.
Just real honest, Adam, about kind of our view of them and what they can be. I think Bowen has improved, and he's done some good things, and has shown the ability to. The question for him is he's got to be able to defend at this level because he is a terrific shooter. Kalen in strength and physicality, and also defense. So it doesn't do them any good or us any good if we're sugarcoating it. It's just honest conversations about maybe where they're at right now and what we project for them. And those always happen in the spring.
Still early starting season, but have you started to really think about roles for RIF and how that is going to break down like just even on preliminary?
Yeah, we're developing it right now. I think we'll see them together some, Steve. The biggest thing is going to be who we're playing, matchups. I think if we're playing two traditional, bigger players, then I think we could see it. There's certainly some teams in our league that play, bigger. And Indiana comes to mind that they typically play a little bit bigger. So we'll see both those guys together. How much, it remains to be seen. Really good kid, first and foremost, and we really needed him, and I think he felt like that. He understood that. We lost Bryce, we lost Justice to graduation, Bryce to the NBA. So I think when we recruited him, he felt how much we needed him. Our roster needed him, and I think that was important because he was getting recruited by other Big Ten schools and a lot of schools. So he's a great kid who can really score. We've challenged him to improve in a couple areas. His defense and his rebounding, I think he's got to be able to rebound it better than what he is right now. Primarily, and he's embraced the big defense.
Yeah, I mean, your story is never played basketball. When you think about going
he really benefited, I think, a couple years ago when they played him at the 4, and he'll play some 4 this year. He's got to be able to find his way when he plays with the bigger. I think he's a really good shooter. I think what he is a natural scorer. So he's got to find ways to impact the game while he's out there. And maybe he's struggling to shoot. He's going to command a lot of attention in this league. And I think when you look at it, that might be as beneficial as anything. People in our league know who he is. They don't want to leave him open. And we know how valuable that is for effective offense.
You have an amazing story too. We're in a couple of different places.
I think it's a good thing. I think I don't know. It's hard to look at leagues right now and put a specific style on them anymore because they're getting so big. We added a couple schools or a couple coaches here recently. That press more than what typical Big Ten teams have. So I think it's a good thing. I look forward to it. I think it gives us all a chance to see a different style of play. That can enjoy. Sure.
Already passed.
I think we need to. Yeah, I think we need to. I think, especially if we play a 3-guard lineup, but I think we need to. I don't know if it'll be the most we've ever, a team that's taken the most threes, but I think we need to take more threes than what we have in the past. And that we challenged them with that in the preseason.
Maybe not more about maybe
Yeah, I don't know that we have as many guys maybe as we've had in the past where they're daring them to shoot. We've had a couple of those guys where they're just daring them to shoot. And there'll be maybe a guy or two where people will really gap off and shrink the floor. But I think the reality is you've got more guys that get to know where they're at. Dale's, for one, Jamison, both those two guys. Scotty can make open threes of the new guys. And we know Bruce and Roddy are all capable. Zed will shoot some threes at whatever position he's playing. I think we'll hear this week. I think we'll hear about 11:45 on Saturday from the fans regarding the streaming, and that will help educate them on how to find it here moving forward. Purdue has 6 games on Peacock. Michigan State has 5. We have 5. So there's a lot of good games, and what I'm really pleased with is the quality of talent. ET back there. What's up, ET? What I'm really pleased with is just the quality of on-air talent that both NBC and Peacock have hired. I'm really excited about it. I think it's high-level talent. And I'm assuming it's the same for football, but I don't know.
Roddy Gale, I don't know if we're talking a lot about him in the year. He was playing really well. Is he ready to make that jump?
We don't want to get carried away. Right?
One of the biggest questions going into the year, Steve, is that one right there. And I don't mean to put added pressure on him, but one of the biggest questions going in is that I think what you're going to see with Roddy is continual growth throughout the year. I don't know if he's going to say, hey, to start the year, he's going to pick off just like he left off at the beginning. What I think you'll see is moments where he gets better and better in front of us. He'll be on that little bit of a trajectory, so maybe a little bit slower, but gradual. And I'm fine with that. As long as he's improving, he's really going to help that team. Yeah, ask me in a couple months, but because I think that the game is different. The offenses stylistically are different. You don't see a motion offense like Iowa in the NBA. So I think the depth of his knowledge. He spent 14 years in the NBA. He spent the better half of the last 8 to 10 really helping coordinate defenses. So he's got a very specific knowledge on defense, and that's why I hired him. We'll see if it pays dividends. I think it will, and I think more importantly, if we stay healthy, we have a roster that can play. Anything else, guys? Joe, you got anything? Okay, all right.
Thanks, Coach. We can walk out here.